In a year where the unexpected became the typical, how did the world, specifically our education, reacted and responded to it? Let's tackle that and more in this episode and season finale. Welcome to Think Out Loud. Good day everyone, welcome to another episode of Think Out Loud, Minds at the Mic, where we talk about life, school, and whatever thoughts come to mind, providing a platform for your ideas. I'm your host, your speaker, your friend, Mark Rebollido. With that out of the way, let's get right into the topic. Look, before we start, I want to thank you for 76 subscribers. It's a really big milestone for me personally because I didn't even think we will get past 50, let alone 70, since I haven't been posting for a while, months gaps between uploads, so that's something I never really put my head around, but still thanks. And for those listening in Anchor, thank you so much for getting me past 100 listens, 100 plays. It's really a big thing for me since I know that people are actually listening, people are actually understanding, or at the very least getting what I'm saying, or continue to listen to my podcast, so thank you for that. So with that out of the way, online classes. That's something that has been thrown around this couple of months, maybe even a year now. Online classes is a part of history now. It's no longer something that only collegiate people or collegiate students use to communicate with each other or use as a way for them to study flexibly. It's now something that almost all of the people are doing, maybe even in places where internet is very weak, such as the Philippines where I live. We are conducting online classes here, and some of us already finished and some of us are still conducting online classes, but still, the point is we're still doing online classes, and the online classes has been prevalent this couple of months. And personally, I finished it already. We started in near August, July, August, and we just finished like a few days ago. And it's been weird for me since, sure, time passes by when it comes to school. We dread and then we say that we're experiencing like pain and we wish the school year would end. But then the school year ends and we're like, that was it? Like, it feels like yesterday that we started schooling. So that's the same feeling I had personally. So before we fully tackle the intricacy of this, and I'm not gonna tackle the full intricacy since I want this to be a reflective episode. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna recap how it all started. So let's start with the pandemic. The pandemic made everything uncertain. Sure, we cannot deny the fact that when you go out now, it's like the meme, in the bucket list of things that you need, or the list that you need to go out, there's a new thing that is added. Before 2011, the iPhone or smartphones has been added. And now, 2020, masks are now added to our list when we go out. You're gonna check your keys, your wallet, your phone, and then now you have a new thing on the list, which is face mask. So it just goes to show how the pandemic changed our fundamental way of living. And when it comes to change, uncertainty is bound to happen, especially when it comes to things we cannot see. If we really think about it, the pandemic is a silent battle that is magnified by the global magnitude of the event. If the pandemic only happened in a small area, if instead of being a pandemic, it became an epidemic, we won't notice it since it's so unnoticeable. It is, you cannot track it for the first 2 weeks. You're just gonna think you have a flu, you have a headache, and then suddenly you've passed it on to people around you, and you don't know you're the cause of it all, of their illness. That's why when the pandemic hit, our school year ended abruptly. We didn't even have our recognition, our moving up ceremony, and that was really confusing for us. That was hard for us to not only have that, but also to see this global issue, global event engulf our lives. And for like a couple of months, like 2 to 3 months, we were confused, especially me. I was confused. I don't know what's gonna happen. Sure, I'm in the comfort of my home. Our family is taking all the precaution needed to keep our family safe, but that's not enough to ensure someone of safety. So we were uncertain, we were unstable when it comes to emotional well-being. I'm not gonna generalize here, a lot of people had a reaction, but if I were to guess, I were to say that a lot of people felt this way. And I will show you why later on in the episode. So what I want to talk to you about is how weird a school year was. We started with a pandemic. That's a given already. The 2020, it was a weird time. The Australian forest fire, the global pandemic. It was very uncertain. With all that uncertainty, this news came up about the DepEd, Department of Education here in the Philippines, planning to continue schooling. And our school also announced that. And I was shocked. Not because I didn't want to, but because with all this, people are still concerned about education, which I'm fully in support of. Education is really important. But it was during a confusing time, so I did not know how to fully react to it. First, I was like, oh, maybe this would be a sense of normality. Having school during an uncertain time would be a sense of being normal, a sense of being usual, to get our minds off of things, to get our morale up. But I was not expecting this year to be such a doozy. So what happened is, we had our school year. The school year was announced, I enrolled, and we had our orientation for like a whole week. And at that time, I was contemplating, how are we going to do stuff that requires physical things? For example, we cannot have school without physical education. It's never been that way for me and for a lot of my classmates. For arts, for home economics, for all these things that require physical interaction to work. So that was something that we were totally confused by that. And I was not sure how it will go down. I heard of the plans. I've heard of how we will do it. To recap to episode 8, being a campus journalist, I've heard how all will go down. But still, it was confusing, to say the least. And then, the school year went by like that, like a snap. And I was baffled, since I expected something for like online classes, for internet to go down, for all of that. But I've never expected the type of stress we would be given schooling during this pandemic. And personally, I have my own reaction. For example, I know that the schooling was important. For me, I'm inclined to study. Even if there's no schooling, I actually study. And if you look at all my episodes, you can see the research that I do. And even now, look at the links down below. I did my research even if vacation started. So yeah, you can see that I really like studying. But the point is, it's not the same thing as a face-to-face class. I see my research different from what I learned in school. And now, they're put together. And it was kind of pleasant, since I'm used to the ways how I'm gonna tackle different things and uploading when not able to communicate with one another. But it's very confusing for a lot, and I can empathize with those who are struggling, since when I started this podcast, I struggled how to do it. Even if I've uploaded like a couple of videos in the past, it wasn't quality content, so I wasn't really sure on how to do certain things. But then it all went by, and let's just say I was pleasantly surprised by it. And let's just look at the upsides. We tackled the uncertainty, we tackled the weirdness of it all. But let's tackle the upsides and surprises. My first thing that I noticed, it's tiring. Maybe to some it would be a surprise, since it's only online class. What's gonna be so tiring? I just mentioned that there's a lack of physical activities, or the lessening of physical activities during this pandemic. Since it's a pandemic, you cannot play basketball, you cannot play volleyball, you cannot play football, or whatever sport you play at school. You cannot do that since it's online class. So how is it tiring? It's emotionally tiring, it's mentally tiring, since now you're gonna tackle more intricate stuff with computers. And a lot of us are tech savvy, but really think about it. I'm in the Philippines. A lot of us can't or doesn't see the necessity of learning that. So that's something that we need to tackle, but it's still tiring. Whatever it is, whatever you do in the online class, it's still tiring. And yes, the whole thing was uncertain. The whole thing was not, I'm not gonna say not organized, but it was constantly shifting, constantly changing. Our schedule for online class in our first trimester was different than our second and our third. Everything was shifting. So it was very uncertain. That's why in our farewell Zoom meeting, I called it an experiment. Because it really was. It's an experiment for a lot of us. If I were to mention to you, if I were to tell you in 2019, 2018 that we were going to have a mass online class, that almost everyone would be using online classes to study, you would say to me, that would be bonkers. That would be stupid since it hasn't been tested in a worldwide situation and then we're just gonna suddenly go into it. That's why it's called an experiment for me personally. That's why I call it an experiment. If you really think about it, we were not that sure in what to do. If anything, this whole thing of trying to put our lives in order or making it seem normal, it's all problematic. Not in a way that it would be an issue, but in a way that in a time where everything is not going to plan, we cannot ask for normality. And you might say to me that that's too dim, that's too dark to say, but the thing is, I'm not alone on this uncertainty. Especially here in the Philippines, I'm not alone in this fear. I'm not alone in this feeling that everything is uncertain, since there is a study done when it comes to depression. There was this research about depression, anxiety, and stress. It's called the COVID Stress Predicts Depression, Anxiety, and Stress Symptoms of Filipino Respondents. If we look at the study, if you want to go down to the link below, I will put the graphs here in the screen as well. But if you want to go to the link, just go there and you would see all the research. If you go there, you could see that the ages between 15 to 20 and 21 to 30 show the highest in all category, not just one, in all category of stress, depression, and anxiety. They show the highest score for all of those. And 15 to 20 are students, obviously. And 21 to 30 are collegiate students, are people who are studying for their PhDs, for their masteral, for their degrees, for their bachelors. And you might say, well, that's just ages. We are not sure if they are students. But if you look at the study and search for the word students, you would see that in the discussion, not in the discussion, but in the methods and the results, it said students showed the highest scores of COVID stress. It did not say young adults. It did not say teenagers. It said students. So it encapsulates the 15 to 20 and 21 to 30 age group. And this is a fact that everything right now is weird. You know, online classes, students are not feeling well. I actually did a feature piece on this, and it got me thinking that people are struggling more than you think. Not just because of the pandemic, not just because people are dying, not just because their relatives are experiencing hardships. No, it's because of all this uncertainty, all this instability in their lives, all this weirdness, all this newness cannot be comprehended by a single mind. So even if in a collective, people are still just disagreeing about this, because we have a tendency to deny this pain. You know, the idea where people are experiencing physical pain because they're actually experiencing mental pain, and their body tries to ignore that mental pain and redirect the attention to physical pain. I'm gonna try to link an episode, or I'm just gonna try to link like a article or a video on that, where the mind rejects mental pain by hiding it under physical pain. And that's just an example of how we deny it. And you know what? I did a research of my own. I did a poll on my own, and I asked, which one do you prefer, online class or physical class? It showed, despite the fact that online classes are the most flexible, look at it down below, you can see the research, people are still inclined to face-to-face classes. People still chose face-to-face classes. Despite the fact of all the positives of online class, people still wanted face-to-face. Why? Because COVID did not make it easy on us. COVID did not make it more alluring to use online classes. It just showed that even in our most fundamental way of living, it's gonna change drastically. And one thing that I did during the pandemic before all of this started, all of the online class started, was I did an episode about it, episode 3. Aftermath of the Tragedy, I believe that was the title, episode 3. And I said there that everything would change. Everything will not look the same. Our fundamental lives will not look the same. And so far, it was proven true. But the thing is, we cannot only focus on moping about it. We cannot whine about it because life stops for no one. So one thing that I want to share with you is how do we lessen it? Stress and anxiety. Well, I found this article from Health Now, 16 ways to relieve stress and anxiety. This was not posted during the pandemic, but was posted like 2017, 2016, I believe, or 2018. But this was just to generally lessen stress and anxiety. And it is 16, but I have like only 10 of them here. So the first one said exercise. Right now, you cannot exercise outside, but exercising at home is a great practice. Since it doesn't only lift your mood, relieves anxiety, it relieves the burden on you since you're focused on exercising and not on the things outside. It also makes you fit. You know, as I mentioned, the lack of physical activities really made it hard for us to stay in shape. And then if we jump to number 4, lessen coffee or caffeine intake if needed. If the caffeine is not needed, don't drink it. Sure, it can taste good, but if it's not required, if it's possible, just stop. I know a lot of us love coffee. I was one of those people who really love coffee. But personally, I stopped drinking it since, first and foremost, I'm concerned for my health since I've been drinking it daily. And during the pandemic, you don't really need caffeine if you're only living idly in your house. So that's it. But if you need to stay awake, sure, that could be good. And then next to that would be write it down. Write what you're thinking. For me, this podcast is also therapeutic for me since I can write what I'm feeling, write what I'm thinking, write all these things, and it's really good. So if we jump more, spend time with friends and families. It was rated number 7. So yeah, do it online first and foremost. Since we cannot go with each other, just talk to them online. Friends and families, those people really helped me during pandemics, especially my friends. You know, we may not be talking too much, the people I talk to online, but they really got me through this pandemic. You know, the collab with Aliana that I did, that was cool. That was really lifting my mood. And then next to that would be laugh. No, just generally, to lift people's morale, you need to make them laugh. And you know, this channel may not be the funny channel, but you have tons of channels out there that will make you laugh. You know, animation channel, Jacksepticeye, PewDiePie, whatever makes you laugh. That's so important. And then number 9 is a personal problem of mine. Number 9 says to know how to say no to too much work. And this is a personal problem of mine since I actually do a lot of work. I give myself a lot of work even if it's not required. So yeah, remember that if you're the one making yourself do things, not being able to accomplish them or being able to say no to them is actually good for you. This is not only a message for you out there, it's a message for myself and for the people that I've worked with. Since all of us, I and my friends who I've worked with, are all hard workers, and doing too much can really put a strain on us. And 10 is be attentive. You know, avoid procrastination. Why? You might say, wait, you just said to say no to too much work. Well, being attentive, avoiding procrastination would relieve those stress from your back. If you're procrastinating and you're thinking of doing something, just do it. It's better to have nothing to worry about than to have something to worry about. And 14 and 15, I actually put this together since it's close enough to each other that can be put together. Is number 14, listening to soothing music, and number 15, deep breathing. That thing, deep breathing and listening to soothing music, I actually do that personally when I work, when I'm stressed out. I listen to music and then I do deep breathing. And then 16 is pet. Just play with your pet if you want to. So, but listen, all of that are all good and well, but one thing cannot be ignored. That would be feelings. Yes, we could say that, oh, do this, do that, so you could be good. Yes, you could do all those things and feel well. But remember, one thing that you cannot ignore, and that's why I put number 5 in there, write it down. You cannot ignore feelings. You know, I did a poll, just to go back to that. I did a poll, and most people said face-to-face. And again, why? Why would people want face-to-face? Let me just list down all the positives of online class. You can wake up 5 minutes before class. You can be laying in bed all day. And you could be using your phone all day. You can be living an idle life, not moving at all, playing games, just listening to your online class. What can be so bad about online class? What can online class not bring you? Happiness, relaxation. But think of it this way. Not only is it an experiment, but people just want to go back to normal. We just want to go back to our past normality. We just miss the old days. We just miss our old life of when we stress about work instead of stressing about our parents, our friends, our well-being. We just want to worry about the normal stuff, not this global pandemic. But remember, and this is something I say to myself as well, and to my friends, it's okay to not be okay. Pain is real and should be dealt with. Pain is something that all of us feel. That is what humanity is. And we have to deal with it. But how do we deal with it? There's two options. For me personally, there's two options. To mope forever about it or use it as determination. You're locked up and you're doing nothing. You feel like you're useless. Why not use that as a determination to do something instead of just moping about it? And remember, it doesn't mean it's bad to mope, it's bad to whine. No, we need to release that. What I'm mentioning here is to mope only. To only do that. Not do anything else but mope. And that's something that we cannot deny that a lot of us do. Just say, oh, this is bad, this is not good. And then never do something about it. And I just want to say that we have the chance to do better. This is a monumental moment in human history. What will you add to it? And for those experiencing hardships, I feel for you. And for those wanting for music recommendations during this pandemic and are experiencing hard, I heavily suggest NF Just Like You. Just search Just Like You and then search NF, the letters NF. Because his song Just Like You really resonates during this pandemic, and I think a lot of you are gonna love it. And that's gonna wrap up our season finale. And thank you for listening. Thank you for being with me through this journey. The reason I'm actually making this our season finale is because I'm gonna work on a new project and I'm gonna be back after 1 month. I'm gonna be back and with season 2, episode 1. But I just have a lot of things to do right now. I have my book. Yeah, I have my book and I have a new series in this YouTube channel of mine, and it's gonna be in Tagalog. So for you waiting for some Tagalog content, it's coming. So yeah, if you like this episode, don't be afraid to share it to your friends, families, or whoever you want it to share it. And leave a like and a subscription if you really like it. And that's gonna do it for our episode. Thank you for listening. This is Mark Rebollido signing out.